Chancellor, the University Management, ladies and gentlemen, I present the commencement lecturer for today, Dr. Osasuyi Dirisu.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for the kind introduction. Good morning, distinguished guests, royal and eminent personalities, the Vice Chancellor and the Deputy Vice Chancellors, principal officers of the university, my teachers and colleagues present. I also bring warm greetings to graduating students, parents, ladies and gentlemen, greatest UIs. I consider it a great honor and privilege to address you today, and I do not take it for granted. I'm truly thankful for the opportunity to deliver this commencement speech at the 75th Foundation anniversary and convocation ceremonies of this premier university, which is considered one of the most prestigious universities in Africa. I especially want to thank the Vice Chancellor, thank you, sir, for inviting me to share some of these moments of these significant milestones with you. And to all my teachers present, thank you so much for laying the solid foundation that can be referenced with pride anywhere in the world. Indeed, once you turn up as an Ibadan graduate, it is evident that you have not come to play. I would especially like to congratulate the graduating students. You should be incredibly proud of these remarkable achievements. This is indeed a defining moment. It's been years of hard work, dedication, and tenacity amidst challenging strikes, examinations, and uncertainties. I know you're celebrating today, but you may have more questions than answers about the future. I'm hoping that my speech will provide a few answers as you pivot into the next chapter of your lives. I graduated from this university in the year 2000, about 23 years ago, with an MBBS degree after 6 years of learning back to back, but actually 7.5 years, because there was a strike in 93, 94, and 96 that totaled 18 months. But I'm still forever grateful to the university for laying a very solid foundation without which I will not be here today. As a medical student, unlike some of you, I had a very simple routine built around my studies. But if I were to do this again, I will engage in more extracurricular activities because they enrich the student experience and contribute to making you a well-rounded adult. In 200 level, I remember getting into the cadaver room and suddenly developing cold feet about spending the rest of my life in a clinical environment. As I progressed in my studies, I realized that I was more interested in engaging the social environment and understanding how social determinants impact on health, well-being, and prosperity. By the end of medical school, I had a vague picture of what I wanted to do, but I had no clues about how to connect the dots between my reality at that time and the future I desired. I say this to encourage you. It may appear that you are confused today about the future and you're even more confused than you were in 100 level. You are not alone at all. I can assure you that the picture would always become clearer. The popular quote, "Hold the vision, trust the process," is truly relevant. As you keep that vision in focus, enroll in the lifelong journey of learning and continuous self-improvement. Because in the words of Helen Keller, the only thing worse than being blind is having sight but no vision. Sometimes opportunities that may come to you may come in ugly, unattractive packaging. The most impactful opportunities sometimes come packaged in unusual places. They may come packaged in volunteer work or even in a rejection letter. So in 2009, as I was contemplating a career break, I received an unusual request to reopen and set up the House of Refuge, a drug rehabilitation center for male substance users in Lagos. I had never done anything about substance use before that day. Until date, it's the most difficult job I have ever undertaken in my life. But it provided a unique opportunity for me to interact with the most vulnerable people on the streets, understand their problems, and participate in solving real social problems, which was something I always wanted to do. So gradually, it looked like the dots were coming together. And it was really from that job, working with substance users, I made a decision to go and do a PhD in looking at the social epidemiology of adolescent substance misuse in Nigeria. When I moved back to Nigeria in 2016, I felt so equipped to save the world. You know, when you come back home sometimes and you literally can see the red carpet rolled out for you at the airports. I felt really equipped, and I really was looking forward to the prospects of making impact. Unfortunately, things are, however, not always as picture perfect as they appear in the movies. And learning to adapt as you go through life is an important skill because you really cannot afford to give up. So for 6 months, I applied for jobs in the development sector, but I wasn't invited for even one single interview, not one. I wasn't about to give up though, because returning to Nigeria was a no-brainer for me. I believe my expertise in exploring complex social problems was more valuable in a developing country like my own, and at that time, I consciously closed the doors to the prospects of returning abroad. I remember speaking to one of my mentors about not being called for one interview in 6 months, and he said to me, "Osasuyi, you're probably overqualified for all these jobs you're applying for." My light bulb moment came in September 2016, when it occurred to me that volunteering could be a strategy to re-enter the development sector I left in 2010. So I sent a request to an international research organization in Abuja, said, "I would like to volunteer with you." And although some of my friends thought it was not a good idea after that request was accepted, I knew that popular opinions do not always win life context. So don't neglect your intuition, the nudging of your heart, or the inner voice directing you to align with your destiny. Interestingly, when I resumed on that job, the very first task I was assigned to do was to clean up a poorly executed job. And this was for a position I applied for, but I wasn't contacted. The person who was hired did a poor job, and I was here as a volunteer coming to clean it up. It was even more interesting to note that when I asked the hiring manager about the fact that I saw this advert and I applied, but I wasn't even contacted, she said, "Oh, I'm sorry. The advert was a formality. We had our candidates." But here was I as a volunteer now doing the work somebody else had been paid to do. It didn't matter to me at that time because by taking up that opportunity to volunteer, I had the real platform to showcase my skills, and the rest, they say, is history. In that role, I got to work on some of the most challenging projects that developed my versatile skills in integrating policy with practice. Recently, I attended a meeting where we all had to share remarkable events in our lives we're grateful for. I chose to speak about my immense gratitude for all my rejections and failures. Why is that so? When I look back at what would have defined my success points if I didn't experience rejection, they pale in comparison to where I would have desired to be today. So when you face rejection, when you experience the temporary pain of failure, you would receive the long-term blessing of being rejected from a path that was not your own, the path of coasting through life and living every day, robbed of the immense potential embedded in you to make a difference. I learned the concept of failing forward from reading John C. Maxwell's book a couple of decades ago. In his words, fail early, fail often, but by all means, always fail forward. I have graciously embraced this concept in my journey, and I'm not ashamed to speak about failure. In most instances, we conceal our scars and display only the glitz and glamour of success on social media. But you are always going to be better for it when you understand that failure was a stepping stone that should be celebrated for preventing you from settling for the inferior version of yourself. It is okay to cry when you fail, but pick up the broken pieces and fail forward. Failure is never final. It provides a learning opportunity for growth, because when you learn, you change for the better. As the world grapples, As the world grappled with the aftermath of the COVID-19 pandemic, new challenges emerged with geopolitical tensions in Russia and Ukraine, fluctuations in international commodity prices, global inflationary pressures in advanced and emerging economies. We face unprecedented times in Nigeria, a weak and non-inclusive economy, volatile macroeconomic environment, burgeoning public debt, security challenges, and weak economic competitiveness. About 63% or 133 million Nigerians are multidimensionally poor. What this means is that in addition to lack of income, they lack basic amenities such as healthcare, education, sanitation, and clean cooking fuels. And 80% of these Nigerians live in poor and rural areas, Conflicts, climate risks, widening income gaps, food insecurity, and inflation have exacerbated rising levels of poverty and inequalities in Nigeria. The current situation poses real challenges, but also opportunities. And this is where the tagline for the 75th anniversary, learning to change, changing to learn, becomes extremely relevant. Unusual times call for unusual measures. And I dare say that unusual times calls for unusual innovation. The only thing that is constant in life is change. But to change for the better, there is a need for learning. And change is never easy. Whether you're going to move home, leave Ibadan, learn a new skill, or start a new job, it is not going to be easy. But if you resist change, you put limitations on yourself, and you close the door for opportunities to grow, innovate, and be productive. So learning to change means that we can continuously evolve, adapt, and improve. Embrace opportunities to learn new things, and do not settle for the second fiddle. The promise of the unknown provides a unique opportunity for you to shape a future without boundaries or limitations. Every day you wake up, ask yourself, am I improving in key areas of my life? What does a better version of yourself look like? And unfortunately, no one can answer that question except yourself. I will leave you with two thoughts as I round up. The first one is develop a purpose-driven outlook to life. Spend some time to identify what truly drives you. This is where self-reflection on your passion, your goals, and your values come in. Ask yourself, how can I make a positive impact on the world? What problems am I equipped to solve? You can even leverage the power of technology, but by all means, be solution-driven. And the second lesson is do not rely on external validation. Relying on other people's perception about our value to determine our worth can be extremely limiting. I remember leading a project some years ago, and I was under intense pressure to use foreign experts to deliver on this project, which we had conceptualized and developed locally. They insisted that the level of sophistication needed to deliver could not be developed by a local team. I stuck with the Nigerian team. I was confident about our capacity as a local team to deliver this project. We had a young, innovative team of developers, social scientists, and communication experts who clearly understood the local context and ensured that our solutions were contextually relevant. Last year, I attended an international conference, and this project was mentioned as one of the most innovative initiatives executed in that category globally. Do not be limited by your skin color, your gender, your socioeconomic class, or your country of origin. In the year 2000, after I finished from the University of Ibadan, I was posted to a rural community in Ebonyi State for my youth service in a Catholic hospital. I was the first NYSC doctor in the hospital's 45-year history, and it was very unusual to see a young female medical doctor. I ran a very busy outpatient clinic, and most of my patients assumed I was a nurse. The clinic assistant, Madam Mata, who spent considerable time during her clinic orientation explaining to patients that I was a doctor. It was interesting to see patients come in minutes after the orientation, hand their hospital cards over to me, and call me nurse. Afterwards, Madam Mata would scream at the top of her lungs, "Why in Abu doctor? Why in Abu doctor?" Which means a woman can become a doctor. Why are you calling her a nurse? I had to tell her to stop convincing the patients I was a doctor because their perceptions or biases did not change who I was. If you live a life that is overly reliant on external validation to thrive, you will become a prisoner of hope. If you are always hoping for external validation to boost morale, self-confidence in your capabilities, you will achieve very little. You have the potential to execute the task you are waiting to be validated for. So take full responsibility for believing in your God-given potential. I conclude by telling you that I would like you to know that your dreams for a fulfilling future are valid. You have much more potential than you think, and the world awaits the innovation you bring to ease human suffering and advance sustainable development. May your journey be filled with grace. May it be filled with purpose, excitement, passion, and possibilities. I leave you with the words of Alaya Thompson. Run with your legs to be fast, but run with your mind to be even faster. However, run with your heart to be unstoppable. To every graduating student here, I assure you that your aspirations are possibilities. Congratulations.